My name is David Benoit, and I'm a Cajun. I come from Louisiana. Somebody once asked me, Benoit, what does that mean in French? I said it meant 2 to 5 years, depending on what you did when I was growing up. I've got two brothers. They've both been to the penitentiary 3 times, and an uncle been to the penitentiary 3 times. And I was in reform school by the time I was 15 years old. I tell people we live very sheltered lives. We're all locked up. But being a Cajun, I can tell Cajun stories. So I'm going to start doing a series on just telling Cajun stories to you. The characters that I talk about in my jokes are Boudreaux and Thibodeaux. They're very famous in Louisiana. If you're going to tell a Cajun story, it's got to be Boudreaux and Thibodeaux. And by the way, let me let you in on something. You cannot tell jokes outside of your ethnicity. I cannot tell Polish stories. I cannot tell Swedish stories. I've got to tell Cajun stories. So I want to warn you. I had a friend of mine one time said, man, I was going to tell a Cajun story. I said, you don't want to tell a Cajun story because you're not Cajun. Okay? And I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine one time, and he was at the Waffle House. He and his buddies were out there in the middle of the night, and at Waffle House, at the middle of the night, you have some really kind of strange people. Well, he was sitting there, and they were telling these Polish stories, see? And about that time, this big old bruiser stood up from the bench, about 300 pounds, big old burly beard. He looked at him and says, I've been listening to you guys talk all night. You've been telling Polish stories. I have you know I'm of Polish descent, and I got a razor, and I'm going to cut you up. My friend said, good thing it was electric. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about Boudreaux and Thibodeaux, let me tell you some Cajun stories. I used to be a very good friend of Jerry Falwell's. I used to talk to him all the time, and we'd go to lunch together and things. And his favorite story, it didn't matter if he was with a senator or whatever, he would always ask me to tell the story about this little black dog. One time, Boudreaux was hitchhiking down the road, and here comes Thibodeaux in his nice red convertible Cadillac. He said, Boudreaux, yes, I'll pick you up, boy, but I ain't going to pick up that ugly little black dog. You're going to mess up my car. He said, oh, that's all right. He said, nobody ever pick up my little black dog. He'll run alongside the car. He said, you mean to tell me that little black dog right there could keep up with my car? He said, oh, yeah. So he put it up to 45 miles an hour. He said, now, Boudreaux, where's your little black dog? He said, right there. He put it up to 65 miles an hour. He said, now, Boudreaux, where's your little black dog? He said, he's right there. He pushed up to 100 miles an hour. Said, now, Boudreaux, where's your little black dog? He says right there. He said, I don't believe that, though. Slammed on the brake, get out of the car. Sure enough, there was that little black dog. He said, Boudreaux, I want to tell you something, boy. He said, that was the fastest little black dog I ever saw in my life. He said, but I got a question for him. He said, what's that little black thing sticking out his mouth there? He said, it's probably his tail. He ain't used to stopping that fast. Now, I told that story to a lady in Oklahoma not long ago. And usually when I tell that story, people laugh. She looked at me, she goes, I have you know, I'm a dog person. A dog person? Now just what does that mean? You've been vaccinated? Does that mean at full moons you turn into an animal? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you see, liberals cannot even joke anymore. You can't even tell a story or a joke. Who believes that a person's going to run a dog 100 miles an hour? But folks, that's comedy.